Good of Label Talks. This week's episode is on leading you. So I'm really excited for the conversation. Like the last time, we'll be joined by Eben, who's also going to be speaking with us. But this conversation is so important because um, the guild community, we are very huge on making sure that we are raising the next generation of leaders. And what does that look like? It will first look like leading yourself, because if you're able to lead yourself, you will be able to lead many people. So we're going to get into that conversation. I felt that it was very important to have that discussion. So again, as I mentioned, I'm really excited. Of course, please do comment. Um, let me know who is online. It'll be really good for you to just, mention that you're online, mention your name, even mention what you do for a living. I am Genevieve. I am a pharmacist. I've been a pharmacist for 10 years now. Oh my gosh, I've been a fully qualified pharmacist for 10 years. I qualified in around this time actually, June 2016. And I've been in the healthcare space since I was 16. I think I did my first work experience when I was 16. And I've literally seen how healthcare has transitioned over the years. And now I'm at a stage in my career um, where I am literally like wanting to make a change. I've seen the highs and the lows of healthcare. I've worked in so many different sectors. I've worked in community, I've worked in hospital, I've worked in care homes, I've worked in um, the private sector. I've worked in a plethora of places. I'm also a prescriber. So being able to have experienced all those different areas of pharmacy, of healthcare, has actually really allowed me to come to this place today where I'm saying I want to raise the next generation of healthcare leaders. I want to see healthcare professionals take a step outside of their comfort zones. I want to see healthcare professionals actually take charge of the industry, be change makers and decision makers, drive policies. I want to see healthcare professionals actually, you know, not just limit themselves to a 9 to 5 or remain on survival mode, but actually decide that, hey, I can actually make a difference here where I'm working. So I'm really excited for today's conversation. I believe that today's conversation is going to be amazing. And I believe that, we're going to really um, have a good time today. So please, I can see that people are on. Let me know that you're on. Let me know where you're watching from. Good evening to you, Olivia. Good evening, Jacob. Thank you so much for coming on. Sorry, I'm just seeing the comments now, so do forgive me if you said hi already. It's not just you, Jacob. Olivia's on as well, and I can see on my side 12 other people are on. So please don't be shy. Please do join. But as I mentioned before, I am Genevieve. I'm a pharmacist. I've been a pharmacist for 10 years. I've been in pharmacy since I was 16. So that's almost half of my life I've been in healthcare. And I think that I am able to really, have this conversation with you. And today we're speaking about leading you. And the reason why, again, I'm so emphatic about this conversation, good evening to yourself, Eben, and I can't wait to hear from you later on today. You're a footballer. Awesome. That's so cool to know, Jacob. Um, I really hope that this conversation will still be very valuable to you because, again, if you're going to be a leader in any industry, it's first going to mean you leading yourself. And what does self leadership even look like? It's about, I have had an amazing day, Olivia. Thank you for asking. I hope you've had an amazing day too. So, what does self leadership look like? It looks like you deciding to take responsibility, right, for yourself. Because if you're going to lead a group of people, you must first have demonstrated the ability to lead yourself. So that means that you can take responsibility for your growth. You can take responsibility for your development. You can take responsibility when you're wrong. You can take responsibility when you're right. You are able to self lead yourself. You're able to watch your own life and the values and systems that you're guided by. And you're able to keep yourself for that line. Thank you, Olivia. I love what you're saying. Thank you, Jacob. Yes, just to let you know, whatever you believe is what you can achieve. Thank you for that, Jacob. I'm really enjoying these words. Keep talking to me because it's helping me in this conversation. But I really wanted you to all understand that for us to be effective leaders in our industry, and of course, my industry is healthcare, right? For us to be effective leaders in our industry is going to take us being able to lead ourselves. Because guess what? Sometimes leadership, first of all, is not a title. Leadership is not a job role, right? Leadership is not that you're the manager of X, Y, and Z. No, leadership is a state of being. It is something that you can decide to be by yourself. Nobody needs to call you a leader for you to be a leader. Or you don't have to necessarily have people following you before you become a leader. Yeah, you don't actually need anybody to follow you before you're a leader. You're supposed to actually be a leader by yourself first. So, what does that look like? As I mentioned, is you being able to take responsibility for your own actions and make sure that you are a person of value enough to contribute to wherever you are. So again, I mentioned I'm a healthcare professional, and actually, the reason why I kind of started this thought is because I was in, I'm a healthcare professional. That's what I do. But this week, unfortunately, I found myself on the other side. I was a patient, and I spent probably about 20 hours in A&E this week, right? And I was in hospital again today. And it's not a sub story. I'm getting somewhere, right? I wasn't really feeling very well. And I saw how easy, and again, I understand the healthcare system. A lot of healthcare professionals, especially in NHS hospitals, are overworked, they're overburdened. And this is why I'm quite passionate about what I do as well, by the way. Um, uh, oh, what was that, Jacob? I don't know what that license was because it wasn't in a sentence. Write it again. Um, I was on the other side of the coin. I was a patient this week, and I was actually able to see from a patient's perspective how we as healthcare leaders, if we're not self-led, how it can affect our ability to care. So, one of the first or primary principles of a healthcare professional is to put the patient first, right? That's one of our primary goals, or the primary standards that we abide by, is putting patient centered, putting patients first. So we have a terminology called patient centered care, right? And I just felt in the moment as a patient that I was totally disregarded. I was totally like ignored, should I say. And I was literally just a number in that place. And again, it's not that I don't celebrate the hard work of our healthcare professionals, because I am one, but I could see how easy it was to let slip of that concept of family leadership go, if that makes sense. I could see how easy it was for family leadership, I'm sorry, family leadership, for self leadership to slip by. And what does that mean? Is that you're no longer able to take hold of the values that you abide by. Many of us went into healthcare because we wanted to help people. We genuinely had a heart for people. But guess what happens? We get into a bad habit. I don't even want to say bad habit, because sometimes it's actually not our fault, but we get into a habit of just entering into a system and just being in the line of the system. Um, yeah, just being in the line of the system and just letting ourselves go by. So we, and I think last week Eben was talking about coming out of your comfort zone. We stay in a comfort zone. Sometimes the comfort zone could be, I'm stressed out as a healthcare professional. This is just how we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be running up and down in a stress state. And that causes you to completely forget that you have a patient at the end of your reception, if that makes sense. And that's why I'm talking about leading you, because if we're going to make genuine change, um, if we're going to make genuine change here here in the healthcare sector, exactly, you treat people the way you want to be treated, but that's a value, Jacob. That is part of you leading yourself. Because if you can be conscious enough of yourself, right, to know how you are behaving around people, you will always be somebody who, how do I put it? You always be somebody who knows how to treat other people, because you're already aware of yourself and what you, or how you would like to be treated, that you can consciously remain in that state, even if you are put in a state of stress. So sometimes leadership is being able to step out of that same mindset that you've had for years. And that's what happens. Clinicians, what happens is that we get into the same mindset for years, because guess what? Routine feels safe. Routine feels safe. But what are we saying here today? That the guild community is a community of leading healthcare professionals, people who want to step outside of their comfort zone, people who want to come out of routine to make a change. But in order for us to be change makers and leaders in our industry, we're going to first have to learn to self lead. Because guess what? Sometimes leadership is simply taking the first uncomfortable step. So taking the first uncomfortable step can sometimes be an indication of you self-leading, that you're aware that, hey, I am too comfortable here. I've been in this same position for a long time. Something, and I'm here to be the person to tell you that get out of your comfort zone, explore yourself more. There are skills and talents that you're not even allowing to thrive, because you're so used to being in your comfort zone. You're so used to being, you know, in the same mindset for years. So being self-led doesn't mean isolate yourself. That's not what we're saying, because again, I'm here to invite you to our community. I'm here to say, join hands with us to do something great in the healthcare space. But for you to be effective and valuable, to do that is to recognize that you have to lead yourself. None of us were made or designed to be sheep. We were made and designed specially to do something unique. All of us were created to be leaders. None of us were created to be, to do the same thing day in, day out. We were all supposed to be leaders. So sometimes, not sometimes, being self-led doesn't mean isolate yourself from a community. In fact, sometimes, do you know what? To get to the state of belief in yourself, you actually need to borrow belief from your community. I have a community. I didn't know that I could be a leader in the healthcare space without my community. My community told me that, hey, Jen, you've got something in you that's special. You're able to lead. So I was now able to pick up on that belief and now go and self lead myself into that place, build myself up in value so that I can do what? Begin to create this community and be able to speak to you and tell you that you are a leader. You are a leader, that your life matters. Every single part of you, everything that you've ever been through is for a moment like this, to hear me speaking and decide to take the reins of your life and decide to actually say, hey, I believe I'm something. I'm a person of value. I can actually be a change maker in my industry. So with that, um I don't want to miss having my colleague on. So Eben, if you can join on now so that we can enhance the conversation, that would be absolutely amazing. You can join on. Hopefully, I've programmed it right so that you can join on. I do believe I have. Um, But yeah, let's just continue this conversation. I'm really intrigued um, to hear what you have to say. But somebody who is self-led is somebody who is willing to to go in that pathway of acknowledging their responsibility for their on now. Let me just let her join. Hopefully, there we go. Hello, good evening. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, amazing. Thank you, Genevieve, for sharing. I think, oh, hello everyone, I'm Evan. I don't have too much to add actually. I think it was just an echo of what you've said, in terms
Mm,
of leadership. So with when we hear the term leadership, I think it's easy to think that it's far from us, especially if you come
mm,
from a background. So where I grew up, I don't think there was anybody that I could call a leader. I grew up in South
mm,
London, in a council
mm,
estate. There was not much inspiration, nobody I looked up to. And that's kind of why I decided to be that person for the younger generation. So leadership, it's not a title. Leadership is who you are. It's the way you
mm,
carry yourself. It's the way you respond to things. It's the way you react to things. And I think you mentioned it, the difference between a leader and a manager. So I'm a manager at work. I
mm,
manage about 20 people. And being a manager is easy because you're dealing with the
mhm,
day to day. Somebody calls in sick, you deal with it. Somebody is not doing well in their performance, you deal with it. But the difference between a manager and a leader is somebody that casts a vision. A leader is somebody that inspires, and a leader is somebody that draws out who people truly are. So somebody can
mm,
be saying something to you, but a leader can almost see past it, and you can see that there's more than meets the eye. And a leader is somebody that invests in somebody. But to be a leader,
mm.
you have to lead yourself first, meaning
Yeah.
you have to understand who you are. You have to understand what's inside of you. What's your purpose? Why did you come to the earth? You didn't come just to, you know, you came to make an impact. You came to leave something behind. And that's not for everybody. This is it's not a conversation for everybody because some people are fine with that. But for me,
Yeah.
I've never been okay with that. I've always wanted to know that I came to this earth to leave an impact in people's lives and to change
Mhm.
something. The full
Yeah.
picture may not be revealed, but it's definitely to change something. So, in order to lead people, you have to first lead yourself. So, what does that mean? It means spending time with yourself, understanding who you are. So, I've been a pharmacist for about 10 years, and I'm telling people that I feel like I started my career 3 years ago because that's when I understood, okay, what do I actually enjoy? What am I actually good at? Because it's
Mm,
easy to be able to be good at many things, but to be able to own in on a skill and cultivate that skill, that's a different story. So, leading yourself, I'll go back to the example that I mentioned. You have to understand who you are, understand what makes you
mm,
happy, what makes you unhappy. It also understanding that in life, things are not always going to go to plan. Things are not always going to be the way you want it to be, but how do you respond to
mm.
that? And you understand as you go up the ladder, um, people get paid more for being a leader.
Yeah.
The difference between
Mhm.
the director at work, I looked at her diary and I said, your calendar is just meetings. It's just meetings with people because she's gotten to a stage that it's about strategy. It's more
Mm,
about the conversations, it's about thinking, it's about problem solving, but you don't just get to that place overnight. I think why many people stay in the positions that they're in is because they don't want to be uncomfortable. You have to have a lot of conversations with people, you have to be able to be challenged,
yeah.
you have to be able to debate and debate in a way that you don't get annoyed and you don't get angry. I think, coming from a black background, black British background, we weren't encouraged to debate. If
Yeah.
you speak to somebody that went to University of Oxford, for example, they probably were in like
Mm,
debate school, debate class. We were encouraged
mm,
not to speak up. And that will
Mm,
affect you when it comes to leadership, because there's when it comes to the table conversation and you have an idea and you have to present your idea, and somebody much more senior to you doesn't want to listen to you, how do you deal with that? You still have to be
mm,
able to present that idea and push it and back it with data, with facts, with figures.
mm,
So
mhm.
it all comes down to understanding, going into yourself and really spending time with yourself. Who are you as a person? Why are you here?
Yeah,
Leadership is not a one-way road. It's not, you can't look at the person's journey to your left and compare yourself. You have to
yeah,
understand that, a train that takes off at 8 a.m. is different from a train that takes off at 10 a.m. They're still going to get to the destination, but the timings are just different. That's also leadership. That's
mm,
also understanding, staying in your lane, and understanding that your journey is a journey of leading yourself, and to get to the place where you're able to lead others. Um,
yeah,
I think for me, where I am at the moment, it's definitely been a lot of learning. One thing that you hear when you speak to people that have been in the industry for a long time, they always say that, oh, they don't know everything. And I think
mm,
when you're trying to prove yourself, sometimes you want to be the person that knows everything. But leadership tells you, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn. You're
to
willing to seek
learn. Yeah,
knowledge. You're
yeah,
willing to um, actually take responsibility, put your hand up and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm willing to figure it out. And I think that's
yeah,
the difference between um, just staying where you are and actually growing.
yeah,
To be
yeah.
able to grow, you have to first understand that you need to grow. And you then
To
have to
grow. Yeah.
use the things that help you to grow. So if you think of
Mm-hmm.
like a seed, for example, a seed needs water, a seed needs nutrients to grow. So
Mm,
there'll be certain, whether it's mentorship that you need, whether it's going to certain events that you need, networking. And that's the importance, why I state the importance of the guild community, because it's a community
mm,
of people that want one another to grow. And I think that's very rare,
mm,
because in a world that's
mm,
very fast, everything goes so quickly. We all want to just go to work, go home, but in an environment where we're saying, it's healthcare professionals, and it's not even limited to healthcare professionals, but speaking to healthcare
no.
professionals, in an environment where we're actually looking at each other and saying, okay, how can I help you and how can you help me? That's also leadership,
Yeah.
is admitting that you need help. Um, so I think I'll just leave it there and I'll allow you to continue,
Yeah.
Genevieve. But that's just my short submission for today.
Thank you. Just stay on because we're going to round up soon, but that was so valuable. And I really love the fact that you're saying that self leadership is being able to identify where you don't have certain strengths and being open and willing to learn. Because, again, as you mentioned, that's why we are so emphatic about building this community, because what we're trying to say is that we're a group of people who are willing to come together to solve problems, to come together and put our strengths and weaknesses together to actually make a change. And for me, or because even when you were talking about learning, I was even just thinking that self leadership is the ability to challenge yourself. Because as a healthcare professional, for example, as a pharmacist, every year we have to do what we call CPDs, right? We have to do a certain level of learning or studying or training to be able to register again for the new year. So why that's important to the point, can you uh, come out of just doing what you need to do to get by and actually learn outside of that and actually be able to um, do the extra, go the extra mile, do the extra trainings, do the extra reading, go out and look for the answers to questions that you might have. Are you actually able to do that? Are you able to seek knowledge beyond what is necessary? Because again, if I wasn't inquisitive or willing to expand my mind or bring more value to myself, I would be satisfied in just doing my what is it, 6 CPDs and calling it, calling it that per year. But actually somebody who's self-led is able to know that they don't know everything, but they want to know everything, that they can lean on another person. I can see that a blessing is on. She's one of our amazing people in our community. She's a midwife. And there are some certain times, and she's getting into women's health. So there are some things that I don't understand in that specialty area, that I'm not going to say, okay, because I'm a pharmacist for 10 years, I am not going to be able to lean on the expertise of a blessing, um, when I know that she's in my community to do that. So even sometimes being self-led um, is you actually deciding to lean on somebody else. That's brilliant self-leadership. So, even if you also feel like, and I think everyone was talking about this last week as well, saying that, can you be somebody who, are you daring enough to apply for a role, even if you feel like you're not quite qualified? Even the role that she's in at the moment is a leadership role that we were never taught at school she could acquire or attain. It wasn't something that we were told that we could achieve, but by being inquisitive, by having a community behind her that says, hey, you are a leader, you can be the best, she decided to go for it. And that is why she's now attaining the heights that she's attaining. And I'm so excited for her to tell you eventually what she's going to get into. But it's 10 times more than what she's in right now. Why? Because she has a community. She's been called a leader and she's striving for that position and place. So this conversation, again, I always like to say, is just the start of our conversation, because we have so much to say, and I'm hoping that you could join us in our journey. And I just saw somebody subscribe, so please do continue to subscribe. Continue to subscribe to this channel so you can get notifications every time we're online. But we're just trying to say that before you can lead anyone, you first lead yourself. You don't need a title to be a leader. You don't need a follower to be a leader. All you need to do is decide to lead yourself first. And in adequately leading yourself, you will eventually have people who are willing to follow you. Trust me, because we've all gone through that training. We've all decided that we're not normal healthcare professionals. We're not satisfied with having a job or being in a 9 to 5. We're not satisfied with just going down the normal trajectory that life has dealt us. No, we want to be leaders. We want to be change makers and solution providers. So again, often for our 30-minute short bursts of inspiration, of words in leadership, just really gaining those grounds. And I do want to put it out there that we will be having an event at the end of June. I will provide more details in next week's live, but do prepare yourself for that exciting news about our event for the Guild community. It's going to be absolutely you're going to hear from experts, people that are going to be very inspiring, and hopefully you will also feel, inspired and ready to take on a new trajectory, a leadership trajectory. And I really look forward to seeing you again next week. Again, click that subscribe button, and let's continue the conversation. Thank you for joining again, and have an amazing evening. Thank you.